Welcome back, friends. We're here in quarantine for another day, and that means another project. So today I'm going to be making gnocchi. Gnocchi is Italian pasta or dumpling, and it's really delicious if it's done right. It can either be light and fluffy and pillow-like, or it can be hard, rubbery, and just not taste very good. Today we're going to try to make sure that it's nice and fluffy. And the way that we control that is controlling the amount of liquid in our dough as well as the amount of flour. So, in order to really start that process, I'm going to be baking 3 potatoes here. These potatoes weigh about 1.5 pounds. So the potatoes, I'm going to leave the skin on in order to make sure that it regulates the amount of moisture. Some people boil their potatoes for gnocchi. I like to bake them because it allows more of the moisture to escape. I preheated the stove to 400 degrees. It just got finished preheating. And I'm just going to poke some holes in the potato to allow some of the steam and that moisture to come out while it's cooking. Okay? Again, it's all about the moisture control with gnocchi. I'm just going to put them into our 400-degree oven. I'm going to leave it in there for about an hour. In about 45 minutes, I'll check it with a fork to see if it can go into the potato easily. If it can, it's done. If not, I leave it in for a little bit more. This can be done in the microwave as well. However, that will take far less time, and I don't have much to do today. Okay, so I just pulled my potatoes out of the oven, and I'm going to let them cool down just enough so I can peel the skin off. I want them still warm because that's how you're going to mash them. Voila, they're peeled, they're still hot, and what we're going to do is we're going to mash them up. If you have a potato ricer, I suggest you use that, but I just have a potato masher which works just as well. So let's go ahead and mash the potatoes. Just try your best to get the major lumps out of the potatoes. We're just going to let them cool down just a little bit more. While they are cooling, go ahead, take a 1/4 cup of grated Parmesan cheese and just sprinkle that over top of the mixture. As we're starting to form our dough, we want to make sure not to over handle it because it's going to become very dense. And if it becomes dense, it's going to become that kind of consistency that doesn't taste very good. We want it very light, so we handle it very gently. This may sound a little crazy, but I'm going to add 1/8 of a teaspoon of nutmeg to the gnocchi. I learned this from Vetri's cookbook. Mark Vetri, he's a very famous chef here in Philadelphia, and he suggested adding a little bit of nutmeg to the gnocchi. So I'm going to give it a shot. Okay, the potatoes have cooled down, so they're just about warm now, and that's right where we want them. I'm going to add the egg. The reason why we wanted to let it to cool down is because when we dump the egg in, we don't want the egg to cook as soon as it touches the potatoes. So we're going to mix in the egg to the potatoes, and now we're going to get in with our hands. Okay, our hands are going to tell us when this is mixed in. Okay. Now we're going to add our flour. It's about 1 cup and 2 tablespoons of flour. And let's just mix that in. Again, very gently. We don't want to go too crazy because we want this gnocchi to be nice and light. So we're going to incorporate the flour into the potatoes, egg, and Parmesan cheese. And we're just going to form it enough so it sticks together. Once it comes together, this is when we are going to just knead it for about 1 to 2 minutes. Nothing more, and don't get too crazy. Again, let's not overwork the dough. Just 1 or 2 minutes, we're going to knead the dough. After we've kneaded it, just for 1 or 2 minutes, we're going to put it down here on our working space and get a little bit of flour and lightly flour our working space. that it doesn't stick. Okay? What we're going to do is going to take a little section off and we're going to roll it out. Just like this, into a nice thin log. Right? Think about the size of gnocchi that you've had at a restaurant and make it about that size. Okay? Just like this. Just cut about one every inch or so. Just like this. I wanted to bring you in a little closer so that you could see how to roll these gnocchi. You're going to put it on the back of your spoon like this, and then put your thumb in the middle, press down, and roll. Okay? And then you can kind of just bring it back together. So it looks like this. And you might say, Luke, I don't really care to make my food all fancy and decorative like that. But these ridges are more than just a decoration. In fact, the indentation that you make with your thumb and the ridges that you're making on the outside of the gnocchi are what's going to allow the sauce to really cling to the gnocchi, and that way you have a really tasty bite each time. I just lightly flour the bottom with a little bit of flour, and I'm just putting our gnocchi that we just made right here. Okay, we're gonna let the gnocchi rest a little bit because it's just gone on this wild ride. Okay, it's not even fully cool yet, so we're gonna let it just chill out because all those starches need a chance to catch up and hang out a little bit before we start throwing them in boiling water. All right, so here we are. We've formed all of our gnocchi. We're gonna let them rest. And at this point, you can either freeze them on a single layer sheet like this until they're frozen, and then you can put them all together in a bag. If you just dump them all in a bag right now, they're going to stick together. You can also go ahead and start cooking them, and I'll show you how to do that. It's dinner time, all right, so let's get started. We're waiting for the water to come to a boil here, and as that's happening, I'm over here making a little sauce for the gnocchi. I'm just going to use some butter, garlic, cheese, and a little milk here. But you can use whatever you want. You can use tomato sauce. You can make up your own sauce. You can buy a pre-made sauce. So what I'm going to do is put the gnocchi into the boiling water and then transfer it right over to the pan. Okay? There's no need to let the gnocchi sit in between its cooking and serving it. So we're going to try to make that as seamless as possible. So you're just going to throw the gnocchi in. And what's really cool about this is they have their own little timer. So when they're ready to come up, or I should say when they're done, they're just going to float right up to the top. So they'll let you know that they're ready. So I'm just putting them in one by one here. I don't want them to stick together. So I'm putting them in one by one. And since they all have individual cooking times, they will determine when they're ready. It usually takes like about 2 to 3 minutes for them to come up to the top. So I'm just going to put this batch in. Don't overload your pot. If you do that, it won't be hot enough and they won't cook correctly. And then you're going to, again, might not have the most tender gnocchi. So let's just give it a little bit and we'll wait. Alright, so the gnocchi, it's coming up to the top. It's floating around there. I'm sure you can see it there right from the camera. It's starting to float around. I'm going to give it a few more seconds, a little stir, and then I'm just going to scoop them right off the top. I don't need to get out a colander or drain this. I just use a slotted spoon. I'm just going to dip it right into the sauce. Okay? And you just do this until you have all of the gnocchi in the sauce. Alright. Once I do that, I'm going to go ahead and plate the gnocchi, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Let's see what we have here. We have the gnocchi with the sauce on it, and let's see how it tastes. It passed. It's light, it's fluffy, it's pillow-like. It's really tastes great with this sauce, and the sauce is clinging to all the ridges that we made with the fork. All right, so this makes a great meal, and I'm gonna enjoy it, and hopefully Haley will. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.